All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Thomas Barr. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Local First Arizona. If you're unfamiliar with Local First, we're a statewide nonprofit organization providing resources and opportunities to locally owned businesses in every corner of the state. And you're joining us today for our first rural service provider workshop that we're really excited to get launched. This is a collaborative effort that we are starting with a group of just the top, the grade A marketing and business development companies that we know spread throughout rural Arizona. And we believe at Local First that investing in our rural economies is really, really important. We acquired the Arizona Rural Development Council in 2013 and believe in building bridges and partnerships wherever we can to make sure that our rural communities have everything they need to be successful and thriving. So this new opportunity we're really excited about. Not only are we offering this really cool workshop series with these partners, but soon we're going to be announcing some opportunities for rural-based businesses to access their services through some support from Local First as well. So our hopes are that you're not just attending today or viewing this recording today and just getting this content, but that you'll engage more further and deeply long term through this opportunity. And through the page that you likely registered on, we're going to be announcing some more opportunities in the future. So thank you for joining. And it's always opportune for us at Local First to know who's on the call. And so if anyone's interested, you're welcome to go into the chat and just let us know who your business is, your business name, and where you're located in Arizona. We'd love to know whether that's a city or a town or a county. Shout it out and be proud about it. We'd love to hear it. So I'm going to introduce Axis, our partner in Payson, Arizona. Just a wonderful group of people doing some fantastic work. Every time we've interacted with them has been fantastic. And if you have not met them yet, we're excited for you to meet them today. And they're going to be leading today's session. And there's going to be lots of room at the end after their presentation for you to interact. So if you have questions, please jot them down. You're welcome to drop them into the chat, but I know that they'd love to make it interactive as well. So with that, I'll give it over to Joe from Axis. And thanks for being here today, guys.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so we're Axis Culture Group. So with me, I'm Joe Klein. With me is John Hatch. This is Mackenzie Oakley, and our company is primarily focused. We started out as a traditional marketing company, just making things look good and making sure that companies just had a great representation for their brand. Quickly found out and realized that just making things look good is not what drives success and what drives people's personal success and keeps customers coming back. So really started to develop the company about seven and a half years ago to really be very holistic and drive what we're going to talk about today, and building a story worth telling, right? Customer engagement and retention, because that's the gate. And so what I'd love to do is just to set the mindset for this conversation that we're going to have is around a relationship. So the goal is how can we be completely focused on relationship? Anything that you're doing with your business, with your organization, any entity that you're involved with, it's relationship building 100%. So we don't like to use the word marketing very much, not that it's not marketing a lot of the times, but the fact that the word marketing just has so many things attached to it and so many different experiences that people have had attached to that word as well, that we like to just talk about relationships and building relationships. So and really, if you're focused on building relationships and you're taking kind of that marketing mindset out of things, that is where you're going to find those loyal customers, and that is where you're going to build that trust. But also that's what makes life fun, right? When you talk about your business, but in general, you just talk about your life. The most fun part of your life is the relationships, whether it's with your family or your friends. So really want to encourage you to kind of go into that mindset a little bit as we start this discussion today about customer engagement and retention, and building that story we're telling, is that we are in the relationship mindset with that. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up There we go. Cool. So we're going to be going through five key elements in the conversation today that we're gonna discuss. The first one's brand value. Second one's personal value, community value, effective processes, and relational engagement. We're going to walk through each one of those things and talk about specifically what those do to, in the end result, engage people and retain them and make them want to be a part of that story that you are telling. So we'll kick it off right here. So so discussing brand value. The first thing that we're gonna talk about here is the big question is, how well do you actually even understand your brand? And I think and what we've seen is a lot of people never stop to actually analyze the relationship that they have with their own brand. So whether it's your business, your nonprofit, big organization that you're involved in with a lot of people, can know what that logo looks like, can know what the mission statement is and all those different pieces of it and be bought in, but really actually analyzing how well you understand the brand and how good your relationship is with it. So when we talk about brand, obviously that's the way people feel when they interact. That's the way that people, when they hear your name or they hear your brand's name, that's how they feel about that. And we think constantly about how they feel. How do they feel? What can we be doing to help them better understand? But really starting with the focus of how well do you understand it? What is your relationship with your business, or your organization? It's a difficult task to try to effectively build an authentic relationship around something that you're not passionate about yourself. Right. And I think that a lot of times you'll talk to business owners, or you'll talk, especially in a rural environment, when we're talking about rural Arizona and rural America, you get a lot of disgruntled business owners, small business owners, that essentially feel kind of hopeless. It is difficult. It's a challenge. And they don't love their business. They don't love their brand anymore. They've kind of fallen out of love with what they're doing. And you run into that, and how in the world are they supposed to engage customers? How are they supposed to get people excited about their brand if they're not, excited about their brand as well? So that's the first piece that we want to discuss a little bit is how well do you understand the value that your brand brings? Really saying what impact, what value does this bring to people? All the way, you've got a service and you've got something that you provide, but what is the real value? If you're going into your customer's shoes and you're looking and seeing what you're putting out there and what kind of again, value does that produce to people? And then really, how well does your customer understand that? And how do they feel that, and walking through that, and then just thinking about those consequences of what are the results if they don't? What is the result if you don't believe in your brand? What is the result if other people don't believe in your brand? And we see businesses rurally going out of business all the time that could have stayed in business, and if they just took that self-reflection, took that time to really reflect constantly. This is something that you're going to have to sit back on, and you're going to have to really reflect. And we encourage you to jot down those things. What value does my brand actually bring to people, and why do I love it, and why did I start this, and why did I get involved in this, and what am I doing this for? And really making sure that you have a time on a consistent basis to reflect on that, and be consistent with that reflection. As to who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. So as we kind of move through these, that's the first point, is just to get into that mindset of understanding your brand yourself and knowing that. So
as much as we talk about brand value and understanding the value of your brand, there's a personal side to that too. And as we work with a lot of our clients and organizations, we try to help them understand this, that that brand value a lot of times comes from, if you're the business owner, if you're the leader, if you're the entrepreneurial, you're the one who has kind of started, your business, your organization, nonprofit, whatever it is. A lot of times that brand value comes out of personal value. And the reality is, and this is what kind of leads to longevity, is when there's personal value and brand value alignment. Your brand value should bring you, to a degree, personal fulfillment. There should be something in that you love doing what you do, love being a part of what you're a part of, because there's a personal fulfillment in there based on the value that you feel like you're providing people. And that's really ultimately what businesses and organizations should do. I think Patrick Lencioni talked about this in his book, The Advantage, that every organization should exist to make people's lives better in some degree. If it doesn't, then it shouldn't be in existence. But that's really ultimately, like, when you think about businesses, organizations, you think about your business organization, is it making people's lives better? And is there value in that for them? And to that, is there personal value for you in what you're doing as well too? Being part of a brand value. So not only for you, but for, if you have employees, if you have a team, there should also be a sense of personal value when they're a part of that brand value as well too, and they're a part of that brand. So becoming aware of the personal value that someone provides is incredibly empowering. We do a lot with value creation, value development. It's one of, when Joe talks about this holistic approach that we take to marketing, we really start with that value, helping people understand what is the true value that you're providing as an organization and business, and also personally, what are you providing people to personally, and is there alignment there? Because when there is alignment there, there's incredible potential. Alignment between personal value and brand value creates incredible potential. And that's kind of what you're looking for. A lot of times there's not alignment, and that's okay. Maybe there needs to be some shifting and, some decisions made about, hey, what are we truly trying to do here? But that's kind of the start of that. There's also ways that we help, people discover that, help business owners, leaders, and help even employees and team members do that. And Kenzie, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about just some tools we use, to do that. But.
Yeah, we in our personal access group found that a lot of our strengths are other people's weaknesses. So we started taking ourselves through the Strengths Finder through Gallup, and what it showed us is that we all do have really important strengths, and when we align those with the brand, the value goes up tenfold. So doing that with our clients too has been a game changer, so that people really are giving the value that they really are good at and they should be doing. And when we talk about value, brand value, personal value, we're not talking about if you sell cheeseburgers, we're not talking about the value provided as cheeseburgers. What are you actually providing there? You're providing community, you're providing a place for people to be, that kind of thing. When we're talking about value, think beyond the actual service or product you provide. Think about the value that it gives to people when they get that service or when they come to your place. But sorry, back to the strengths. Yeah, looking at everyone's strengths and aligning them where they really should be. You're going to get, that goes back to feeling like empowered. You're going to get team members who are like, yeah, I'm good at my job because I was moved into this position because of my strengths, or I was given this task because I know that I'm good at it because of my strengths. And that just creates so much loyalty on your team.
Yeah, it's so important for your team to understand their value within the brand. You can understand the brand's value and you can understand that, but the team understanding their value within the brand is so instrumental in the experience that the customer is going to have, and their ability to do the best job that they can do, and feeling empowered, and aligning those things is so important. And it's great because what it does is it fosters so many wonderful conversations, so many fun conversations where you really get to pick each other apart in a fun way to see how you tick. And some are risk takers and some need all the data. Some want to do a task list every day and some would fail miserably at that. And putting everybody in the right seat and them understanding with this brand and what this brand is trying to accomplish and what we're waking up and we're doing every day together. truly understanding that this is my value in that overall value of that brand, and what they can then take to the consumer, to the customer, and know confidently that that's what they do best, and have the support of the team behind them on that side. So that's obviously, recapping back is, understanding the brand value, and then the personal values within that. And as a business owner yourself, knowing your personal value in there too, because there's a lot of really amazing talented people that think that they need to be the most outgoing individual in the world, or they need to be the leader that knows everything, or does no wrong, to make sure that everybody trusts them. But understanding where you are, what are your strengths, what are your skills, what are your abilities, and where do you need to compensate with other people, but also just be real with the community and be real with people on who you are and how you do things is that self-awareness that it brings is really, really, really important in understanding your personal value to the brand as well, and then getting your team to that point as well, because again, that all gets passed on to the consumer and the customer and the community that you serve on that side.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to touch on with that?
No, it's great. I think
All
the
right.
kind of practical side.
Well, now we're going to talk about the fun stuff. This is the part that fires me up and gets me really excited, because these are the things that actually build those roots. When we talk about customer engagement and retention, is how well do you understand the community value that your brand brings and its value to your community as a whole. Companies and organizations that really ask what can we do, what are we doing to make our community better, and intentionally build that community impact plan. We like to call that a community impact plan, but really sitting and developing with the tools and resources that we have and the passions that we have. How can we impact our community because we exist? And what are we doing to do that? And I think that so many people get caught up in the word marketing and caught up in the well, I've got to make sure I'm posting X amount of times on Facebook, and I've got to make sure that, I put out a graphic that says this is on sale, or if I have a restaurant, I need to take pictures of my food and post it. And they get so caught up in that mind space that they lose the fact that no, all you have to do is engage the community, and you need to be involved in the community. And that's where a lot of strategic approach has to be made. But again, with your team, that's the fun conversation. That's when you really dig into, okay, we exist to give this service, and that service might provide a really big value to the community. But what else can we be doing? What further can we be doing to get in front of our community and let people know that we love this place? And this is where I believe rural communities give us, we have the advantage over a lot of those metro big areas, because you can really tie a lot of things up in your community and build a lot of relationships with the people you want to and need to, and get a community rallying around your brand if you have a strategic community impact plan. And so you just kind of really, what we suggest on this and what we walk our clients through on this is you really start in by just saying, what are you personally passionate about? And, and we're going to show some examples in a few minutes of some really cool things and talk through those. But what are you personally excited about? What do you love? Are you passionate about the youth? Are you passionate about schools? Are you passionate about senior citizens, animals, churches, nonprofits? Like what are the things that you love and that you care about that you can now take this platform of being a business owner or a professional in your small, community, in your rural community, and push forward to make the community better with your name and your brand attached to that, and allowing your employees and your team to also, dive into that as well. And you've got, most companies have your kind of core people that are there and that are very instrumental in everything that happens day to day. And then, you might have a lower level of employee, but knowing those involve them. What are you passionate about? What could we be doing? What are some things that you do? And there's different levels of investment that are able to happen there. And some businesses have a little bit of money to throw around to do some big impact projects, and others have to get a little more creative. And we're going to walk through some examples of those things, but really the community involvement and strategic impact efforts are key to building trust within a rural setting. it's key. Like for us, it's the foundation of everything. The minute we start to build any sort of marketing plan, which is a community engagement plan and building those relationships, we immediately start talking about where are you involved in the community. If the answer is nowhere, where do you want to get involved in the community? Who do you want to impact? Your brand is going to build relationships. Customers, going back to kind of that brand value, you can do a great job. You can do a wonderful job at what you do. And if somebody calls you and they get the service that you said you can do, and you do it well, that's fantastic. That's not necessarily going to build a relationship. That's not necessarily going to build trust. That, in our opinion, is the baseline of what you should be providing, right? So that service done well is the baseline of what should be provided. So we want to think further into what are you doing to build relationships so that people say, oh, that organization cares. That organization, the way I came across them, the way I met them, or the things that I've seen them do in their community, they're here. They're here to stay, and they love this community as much as I do, and they're invested in it. So that's what we're going to discuss a little bit right here. And let your customers and let your people that you're interacting with when you're trying to build that trust and gain that attention at the same time, let them be a part of the story. Let them jump in on that. And so what we're going to do is I've got 2 slides, and they're full of photos, and I'm going to walk you through some real life things that have been happening in Payson, Arizona, right? So Payson, we're 16,000 and change people right in the pretty much dead center of the state. And we've got our challenges, we've got our economic challenges. We've got, a lot of things we wish we had that we don't. And there's some economic challenges with the schools and a lot of the kids. And then there's, obviously the retirees that bring a lot of money. So we have one of those interesting demographics that are probably a lot of rural communities have, where it's a lot of money or a little bit of money and not a lot in between. So I want to walk you through some creative things that some of these organizations and businesses have done to just kind of put this into action. So we kind of put some talking points to this. So this first row, hopefully everybody can see this okay, but that first row up top that you see is a very interesting thing. So we were working with a flooring company in town, and they were just trying to figure out, how do we get our name out there? How do we let people know? Because there's a few flooring companies that have been around for a really long time, and they do a lot of marketing, and we just want to make a splash. We want people to know who we are and what we're about. So obviously the first thing was, well, what's your brand? And we walked through all that, but then we got into the community value. What community value do you want to bring? And they said, well, we're high school graduates from here. And they said, we love the kids and we'd like to help the kids in some way, shape, or form. Well, we happened to notice that one of the gymnasiums at the high school, the floor was too beat up to even, safely have PE classes on and basketball games and volleyball games and things like that. And kids were sliding everywhere. And it was just kind of becoming a sore subject at the school. And so we said, well, what if we replace that floor? And the project itself to redo the floor and refinish the floor was $20,000, I think was the generous quote. And so you got a small flooring company that's just getting going, and it's a couple brothers getting started, and they're like, okay, well, $20,000. Okay, that's a big chunk of change. We obviously can't write a $20,000 check. What can we be doing? And so we started to really draw up a community impact plan for this project to say, let's fund the floor, and they called it Fund the Floor. And they reached out to local nonprofits, and they reached out to they got a local restaurant that was very, very pro kids. They found some alignment there. They said, okay, well, this local restaurant really loves the youth, and the golf course really wanted to do something. So they said, let's put together a golf tournament as well. And then let's go talk to these local nonprofits that care about our youth. And let's really build this plan and say, hey, if we can reach this $20,000 mark, this is going to happen for our youth. So all those entities came together with this flooring company in charge of the leading the charge on it. And inside of 2 months, the nonprofits kind of came with matches, and they said, we'll match up to this and this. If you guys can raise the rest. And the awareness went out, and we shot short videos and put them out through the town. And as you can see, the volleyball players here In this second photo, they all have one of the nonprofits that helped out with it. They're wearing their shirts, and they had a special night. And one of their varsity volleyball games was completely dedicated to that. You'll see that on the right side too. That photo on the right side is those kids, and they're all in those shirts, and they're doing that. And then you can see a gentleman standing on a chair in the middle of a restaurant. That was a big rally night at that local restaurant to say, hey, we're going to fund this floor. Let's finish this up and get this done. And within 3 months, not only was it funded, the floor was in and it was done. And the beautiful thing about it is the flooring company and these nonprofits and everybody involved got this huge boost from the community. All kinds of awareness from the community came from it. They were on the front page of the local newspaper twice alone, just for this effort and what happened. And you can't buy that kind of exposure. That's the type of thing that I always say, if you want to get the best ad in the newspaper that you can buy, is to do something worth writing about. And that's what they did. And they brought all these people together. They didn't have to really I think they ended up putting about $1,500 into the project themselves. And that was it. But they led a charge. They got people together. They made an alignment of resources in the community that had the same vision for the kids and the youth. And now they have a brand new floor. They actually even dedicated a portion of it to one of the nonprofits that was built on one of our local youth passing away. And they put a whole section of the floor where they painted that piece on it. And that was a surprise for that nonprofit, and just really amazing things that just kept going and going and going and going for months and months and months on this one effort. And their business rose. Their business rose because of it. And there were people that are still to this day loyal to them because of that project and what they did for the youth. And then they just use that to piggyback into more and more projects for the community. Another example is the second row of pictures here is a great one, because this is just a local dentist office, and they same kind of question, same kind of thing. We just want to build some awareness. We want people to know who we are. We said, well, what are you passionate about? What do you love? And it was like dogs and kids. Dogs and kids. They said, if it falls within dogs and kids, we're open to the idea. And so said, well, hey, let's partner with the Humane Society and actually help them get pets adopted through your business. And so they started having the Humane Society bring these pets, a couple times a month, and they would highlight them through their channels. And they were saying, and they had the pet's name, and they were shooting short videos and taking all these photos and highlighting how amazing all these dogs were that weren't adopted and didn't have a home. And to date, I believe they've gotten every single one. And this started 3 years ago. They've gotten every single dog adopted. Every one of those dogs has a home. And there's one that even went and lingered a long time. I actually think it's the second one in, and it was taking a really long time. And so there's extra effort in the community pushing it out. And then finally this pup found a home, and it was this big celebration. But their brand attached to that effort really cost them nothing. It didn't cost them any money. They partnered with the Humane Society and said, we want to help bring exposure. The people you see in these photos, and this is what's such a great thing too, when we talk about getting your partners aligned. So in the left photo there, the lady looking down at the dog, that's the superintendent of the schools. So that's not one of their employees. They got the superintendent of the schools involved, and she was happy to get involved. The second one is their team. The third one is the lady in the front there in the white jacket is the head of one of the largest nonprofits in all of rural Arizona, called MHA Foundation. And they're building a smart park on the other side of town right now. And they pour millions into our community every year. That's her, right there in the front of that. So they got all these partners along the way that they've brought in to say, hey, you want to help us adopt out these dogs? And they got these faces that so many people knew, so that if somebody, loves Linda Gibson, the superintendent of the schools, and has a relationship with her, well, they see that post go out. Now they have a relationship with their brand as well, because Linda's somewhat endorsing what they're doing. And they're smart about bringing in the right people, influential people, alongside of the effort to really maximize it, but also huge community impact for our Humane Society. And our Humane Society is forever grateful for what they're doing. Okay, going into this next one. This one's really, really cool. So those of you that are involved in nonprofits, you'll like this one a lot. So this is a timeout shelter on this top row here. The timeout shelter is a local domestic violence in Payson, right? So you can imagine when a local domestic violence shelter hires somebody like us and says, you can't take any photos. You can't tell anybody where we are, and you can't really talk about anything that we're doing. But we need to make sure that there's a lot of exposure about who we are, what we're doing, and what's going on. So we sat there and we really said, okay, well, what are you doing to get involved with the community? And the answer was, well, we meet once a year at a local church parking lot, and we have some signs that say stop domestic violence, or maybe somebody's name that suffered from domestic violence, or things like that. And we carry them up and down the 87, the highway. And we walk about 3/4 of a mile, and then we walk back, and then we celebrate that we did our annual walk. And it was very somber. It was also, you couldn't read the signs when you're driving by. We looked at the whole thing and we said, you got to do something that really brings the community together so that this conversation can be had at all different levels, all grade levels, everything that can happen. So we we got together and we discussed, well, we have a beautiful park with three beautiful lakes in our town. And if we want to talk about, let's not talk about the despair of domestic violence, which was their approach, is we need to let people know how bad this is so that they can give to us, so that they can help, get rid of the bad. And we said, no, you need to focus on what's good. You need to focus on the hope. And so they said, yeah, we need to focus on the light. And all of a sudden these ideas started coming out, and we said, why don't we put lanterns on the lake at night? And why don't we do something where you walk around our park, in this beautiful grass park with this lake in the middle, and then we all release lanterns, and you can write whatever message you want, and let's invite the whole community, get a couple food trucks out there, have a couple speakers and do a thing. So we did that first year. 150 so people showed up. Everybody kind of got on, and it was great. Well, it just finished. It did its third year last year. We're kind of prepping up for the fourth year. Half the community showed up to last year, and as you can see in these photos, they've brought in over 20 partners now. Police department, fire department has their trucks there. They're doing their thing. Native Air comes and lands a helicopter during the event, which is just really cool. And they land it next to it, and the kids can go in. And then obviously the food trucks, and then you see the face painting going on. That's the rim. We have an artists league that's 100 people deep, that they jumped in and got involved, and they started doing some of the purple face painting there and getting involved. And then they do their annual walk. Well, now their annual walk around that park, and if you can see that photo on the other side there, is huge. And it goes for almost half the park that people are walking. We got the middle school kids involved. They make the signs that go all the way around the park to just tell people, have hope, and they're, stay strong, and all these different things. And those kids, it's a nice little art assignment every year now at the middle school level, where they're getting involved in this event. And there's 1 million dogs, 1 million kids, and people of all ages putting lanterns in. Some people sitting and crying and really having a moment with that. Others just supporting it and just being super proud to be involved. Well, now that's something that happens every year. It turned from 15 to 20 people walking down a highway to the whole community having an opportunity to now join the discussion about timeout shelter, and our community, number one, our stance on that, but also what they do in the services they provide in case they do come across or themselves need that service. They know these people, and they've gotten to meet them and experience that. So the next one down in the middle, and this is the last slide, so I'm not going to go forever, but the next one down in the middle is what's called a classroom call out. And this got started by one of the local nonprofits in town that we work with. And we said, what can you do to we got to show these kids that we love them, right? They're super passionate about the schools, and they want culture. They're like, how is the culture of the schools? And how are we doing these things? And they were doing a lot for the culture of the schools, but nobody knew it. And people were saying, oh yeah, I know they help with the schools, but I don't know what they do. And so they started the classroom call out, and essentially met with the principal, got it all lined up, got with the faculty, and said, we're going to show up with a bunch of cool stuff, and you're going to go in and pull 3 classrooms out at random. And these kids are going to just get pulled out of class. They're going to go out in the courtyard, and we're waiting with them. With some groups do donuts, some do Jimmy John's, some do milkshake, some do whatever. And they just have a party in the middle of the day for 15 to 20 minutes with the nonprofit folks that did it. Well, the cool part is they did the first month and said, this is the communities now. Let's see what happens. So this has been going for the last 2 school years, and we have a list of business owners now that are jumping on this, and they just sign up and they go in and they bring their thing and they party with the kids and they hang out and they give the kids high fives and they let them know, and it gets captured and all those different things. And then they use that as this is how much we care about our kids and how we get involved. It became a platform for over 20, 30 businesses to get involved and sign up and jump in and show our local youth how much they care about them, but also show what their brand represents and who they are. And we have a local realtor that's in the second photo. She brought the police officers. She said, I want the kids to get comfortable talking to police officers and not see them as the bad guy. So she brought police officers with her, and they brought Jimmy John sandwiches. And she, in turn, a year later, the principal had to sell his house and buy a new house. He called her directly, and she got the sale, and then she got the purchase, and she's done well off the back end of that because of the loyalty it created and the trust that it created through the schools, of her just coming and bringing Jimmy John sandwiches to the kids and giving them high fives and making sure that it was captured and things like that. The third photo in with the guy standing next to the Longhorn, the four gentlemen, that's my favorite photo of it all, because that is a septic company, and they're just a local septic company. And these guys never expected to be on a school campus high-fiving kids and passing out crumble cookies is what they brought, and milk, Dan Zeiss and milk and crumble cookies. And that's what they brought, and they're high-fiving the kids and they're hanging out on the campus. And I guarantee you, without an intentional community impact plan, those guys just thought they were going to go do that dirty work every day, all day. And now they're brainstorming and they're coming up with all new ways that they can impact the community through a septic company, which you would never think. So it's really out of nobody's reach. And this last one is great because this is a restaurant, Diamond Point Shadows, that's been around for 60 years in our community. And the gentleman in the two photos, the one on the left holding the dollars, and then the one standing next to the meat in the middle there, he is the third generation. So he's the grandfather to the father to him on this restaurant. He's been in that kitchen since he was 5 years old. And he learned how to cut meat at 10. And so now he runs that restaurant, and the other two have since passed. Well, there's a tradition that's happened in there where people on their birthday write on a dollar bill and stick it on the ceiling. And that's been going on for like 30 years. And so the ceiling's just full of dollar bills. Well, he said, I got to repaint the ceiling. So he took all these dollar bills down, which was kind of like whoa, what's going on? And he donated them to the local hospice in town because they took care of his dad so well, and he wanted to give back. And so he took all these infamous dollar bills from this down, and he matched it. He said, I'm going to match it. So it was a few $1,000s. Well, then the owner of the septic company that I was telling you about is who's in the photo with him there. He stepped up because he's a regular at the restaurant, heard Tyler talking about it, and said, I'll match it. And so then he matched it. So now it got even bigger. And Ty was like, oh, this is amazing. So they gave this huge sum of money to the hospice. That went on Facebook, and we told people that story. It went viral. It went viral through the town. And all he did was take the dollars down, and then he matched it, which he had the funds to do. But now he announced, everybody was kind of coming in and saying, where'd the dollars go? They hadn't heard about it yet. And he said, oh, this is what I did with them, and we're going to put them back up. Just keep doing the tradition. And every couple of years, I'll take it down and I'll match it. And we'll do that. People have already started sticking $100 bills on the ceiling. He's like, I don't know. Okay. He said, first of all, I can't match what's about to happen for the next year. So I got to figure out a new plan. But people just started putting 50s and 100s on the ceiling. And it's happening right now at this restaurant. He's like, all right, I got to figure out a plan too, so people aren't coming in and stealing these bills. But that's what it fostered in the community and created this now ongoing story that's going to happen with his community engagement plan and being intentional about that. And the thing is partnered with capturing these moments. And as you can see, these moments are all captured as we look at these slides. They're captured wonderfully. That's an important piece because you got to get the community involved through them seeing it. But what you want to do is you want to tell their story. You're talking about the other side of it. You're not talking about, look what I did. All right. So the big check theory of, I got a big check, and then we'll write a big amount, and then we'll get a photo of us holding a big check. It's the opposite of that. It's the complete opposite of that idea. And the idea is impact the community, create real conversation, do things that the newspaper writes about, and tell the story through your platforms authentically. And you will see the results. Again, that realtor that I discussed too, when she came to us 4 years ago, she was like in the ranked number 20 something in the Rim Country area, in this whole area. And there's a lot of realtors out here. For the last year, she's been number one by a large margin. She's been the number one realtor, number one sales, number one listings, everything. And the only thing that changed, it wasn't her website, it wasn't anything like that. It was an intentional community impact plan of her being a champion for the community and getting involved wherever she could to make an impact with the nonprofits she's passionate about, which is the Time Out Shelter and Aspire Foundation that helps the kids do dual credit school while they're in high school. And then she also just she gets to the farmer's market. She lets everybody know it's opening day. Get out here, support these amazing vendors. Look what's going on. And she takes every opportunity. She's number one by a long shot now. She has created an amazing career for herself where she can actually retire anytime she wants. We had the discussion the other day. When she came to us, she was stressed out and she wasn't making the kind of money she wanted to make at all. And she was working overtime. She's taken 5 vacations last year alone and still managed to do that. So it really opens the door to just continue to build meaningful relationships on that side. So that's my spiel on the community value side. Obviously the thing I'm most passionate about, and I could talk for days about, but really intentionally building what's my brand's value, what's our value within the brand, and then what value does our brand have to the community, and really double down on that and go as hard as you can into that.
So real quick, kind of playing off of that, and we're going to go fast because we really want to have some discussion with some of you and answer some questions that we have. But kind of the next in our system and kind of what we take, organizations through, clients through is effective processes. So your brand value, personal value, community value, and then effective processes, because honestly, your systems and processes are currently getting you the results that you're currently getting. If you're not happy with the results that you're getting with your business or organization, then you need to look at your systems and processes. And number one, do you have a system and process in place? Like Joe just talked about, do you have a community impact plan in place, and that to provide value to the community? If you don't, that's something to look at implementing. Or if you do have one, but maybe it's not getting you the results that you want, maybe it's not making those connections that you want, building those trusting relationships, then you gotta look at it and change it. And so this is called upstream thinking. We're really big in helping our clients in this theory called upstream thinking. It's based on a book by Dan Heath called Upstream, and really I'd encourage you to read it. But a lot of times we get so focused on the results and we're so frustrated on not getting the results we want that we kind of just stay there and look there. And really there's something happening back here that we need to look at more upstream that's causing that value not to come out. And we got to figure out what it is. Maybe it's something we got to stop doing, something we got to start doing, whatever it is. But really your processes is a big deal. You can discover your value for your brand. You can discover what you're passionate about, personally, what you're passionate about the community. But if you don't have a system and process in place to actually make that value come out and thrive, then you're missing a big piece of that. And that is something that we help organizations do. Great organizations understand that their systems and processes bring the brand value to life. And so this is a big thing for local businesses, organizations, nonprofits to think about as well too. And really your people will feel most valuable when they have a system and process that allows that value to thrive. They're going to feel empowered. They're going to feel important. And we've thought about this with our own business too, and helped other clients as well with that. And so we can sit down if you want to share a little bit about an example of how we've done that.
That's kind of part of our beginning processes with clients, is to really audit what is going on, where do you feel bottlenecked, or where is there some issues, and just identifying that and then setting them up with the tools that are necessary in order to make things happen. It kind of goes back to that personal value too, of figuring out who really should be in the seats that they are, and who really should be task managing or thought managing and those types of things. But having processes aligned with that, that's been a big role for me. I'm an ex-teacher where there's all these processes. So when I came to a business like this, I was able to kind of figure out, okay, what process do we need? All the way down to calendars or CRM softwares, or just how we communicate with each other. All of those processes are how everyone sees and feels your brand. So they're so incredibly important.
Yeah. So, yeah, just being intentional with those things and saying, okay, in order to accomplish these things, we need to make sure that we are very organized. We need to make sure that that organization piece, because that's where things can just break. Great ideas and great thoughts are, a dime a dozen, to be honest. And, any of those things that we just highlighted that have happened in our community that we've seen, took a great amount of system and process and organization to make happen. And you do have to really focus on that, what needs to be put in place so that you can do those things that are going to engage the customer and are going to build those relationships with the community that you want to build. Okay, and then moving on, because we do want to get to the thing, is the last one is relational engagement, and really that's the marketing part. So the relational engagement is really, once you have these in place and once you're doing these things and you have so much to highlight from who your team is, who you are as a brand, and the things that you're doing in the community, and then also your services and what you do and how you do it, and educating people. Some businesses require a lot of education, things like that. You're going to have so much to tell. You're going to have so much to tell, and you want to use all those platforms. We don't have to discuss too many of those. And but obviously social media platforms and websites and things like that to tell that story effectively, so that everybody else can join it and everybody can be a part of it. And then just being a champion for the community. Every business that exists in a rural community has no reason not to be a huge champion for that community. You are the lifeblood of it, 100% the lifeblood of it, and you need to be the champion for it. So that's kind of, where that comes in on that relational engagement, is now take all of this and just talk to people about it and push it out everywhere that you can and let them celebrate with you. And that's the fun part, because they will celebrate with you. They will get on board, and they will tack more money to the ceiling than you ever planned, because they want to be a part of that story, kind of a deal. So that's where that last piece comes in. And when all of these align, your relationship with your brand is healthy, right? Your team's relationship with each other and your brand is healthy, and your community's relationship with your brand is insanely healthy. And when you can put all those things together by, kind of focusing on these 5 areas, and this is what we've seen year after year, really, really work well for rural businesses. Then you fall in love with what you're doing every single day, and you get to be a part of what you're doing, and you don't have as much burden because your team's happy, they love you, they support you, they're there for it, but also your community is there for you too, and they're supporting you as well, with the amount of support that you're giving to them, and it gets reciprocated, and it just becomes fun. And then all of a sudden everybody's mind is on this, and they're thinking about it, and you don't even have to think of half the things that you're going to do or what you're going to say or the systems you need to put in place, because they're hyper aware of it too, because they want that machine to work really, really well. So then that's kind of the conclusion on that side, with that. So we're going to pop off of this and let you guys chime in anywhere that you want, because discussion base is really our favorite way of doing these things. So I don't know if there's any comments or things that you guys have seen or questions regarding any of this that anybody wants to discuss in the last few minutes.
Well, thanks for all the content, team. Really great stuff. I just have a quick, I guess, thought and question to get us conversing a little bit. Is you shared a lot of great examples regarding how businesses have partnered with nonprofits to build community. Really, really central, I think, to what defines, I think, the Payson community a lot. A lot of really cool stuff with the interactions between sectors there. Do you have any examples or stories of for-profit businesses and how they've collaborated, whether that's a regional collaboration, 2 businesses that aren't similar in their industries that work together, or maybe 2 businesses that had a similar demographic that partnered, anything like that at all?
Yeah, there's been a lot of those.
Completely different demographic.
Yeah, go ahead and
well, that bottom line about the dollars, that was a restaurant owner and a septic business owner. So probably a lot of the same people using both, just because it's a small town, but in no way are their businesses similar, other than they probably get their septic tank cleaned by that guy out of the restaurant. But we find that often, especially in a small town where this business owner knows that business owner, so they're going to work together to do this thing. And we always like to loop nonprofits in, because it's nice to have that 501c3 kind of attached to any effort that's going on. So we have a good chunk of nonprofits who are always willing to jump in, even if they really are just acting as the like the funnel or the liaison of that money and of that marketing, just because they know it's going to make good impact. We have that often, but we also have done it where nonprofits aren't involved at all. We have a real estate company in town here that has a philanthropic group of about 15 realtors, and they do quarterly efforts, impact efforts. Sometimes it's monetary asks. It's raising funds for an outdoor adventure program at the school. They raised way more money than that program even needed, and now that program has all these other things that they get to do for the kids. Or they're doing volunteer efforts, and they're partnering with other business owners and other businesses in town to create these high impact efforts for low cost or low work on everyone's end. So
yeah, an example with them right now is their effort at the moment is they're raising money for another for-profit business that's an art school. So it's a creative school that one of our local artists has launched. And there's a tuition to it, there's $50 a month. And there's a lot of families that said, I can do half of that, but I can't do the whole thing. And so she said, there's a need for scholarship here. And she's a or a for-profit business. And they said, okay, well, but let's get these kids. No kid is left out of this creative art program. And so they've put together a system to raise money to scholarship those kids that need that scholarship each month. And that money goes into her business account so that those kids can be a part of that program. And then in turn, they get to, get in there with the kids and high five them and see what all that's about. And the community gets to understand that they back that and they support the kids, the arts, and what our local artists are doing to build into our local youth. So yeah, there's a lot. It's kind of become a competition in Payson, to be honest. It's fostered this. If you're a business and you're not attached to a nonprofit in some way, or you're not actively giving back or doing things, you kind of stand out at this point. And it'll build a community within the community of like, this is just what you do, and how you do it. And so it's been a lot of fun to watch that.
We're actually receiving clients solely based on that. We had a new client come in just this past January that said, I don't really need a whole lot of marketing, but I need to get involved in the community and I don't have time. So help me be the boots on the ground. And here's some money that I want to give to the community. Help me spend it. And that's really cool to see the shift in this guy you never would have guessed would have wanted to pour dollars into the schools in the community. But that's why he hired us, is to find ways to do that, not for his own gain, but for the gain of the community. And that's when you're doing it right.
Yeah. So that's the culture then in Payson that has kind of emerged from businesses really doing this and partnering with each other and doing these things.
That's great. Jim, I see you came off mute. Did you have a question?
No, actually, thank you. It was just a quick comment, just to underscore what you're saying. You're reminding me of what's so important for me to remember. And that is when I have a for-profit business, but I do work through a nonprofit. And by doing that, I completely let go of my agenda, my greed, my need to sell, and gain more clients. And I went out through the auspices of this nonprofit, and I do these workshops, these financial awareness workshops. But the whole thing was about educating and entertaining. It's just, an hour here, an hour there. I'll drive for hours to go speak at a corporate headquarters. And a remarkable thing happens. You've let go of yourself, and you entertain, you inform. There's a lot of aha moments, and there's handouts, and there's candy, and there's snacks. But at the end, they just fill out a questionnaire about what they liked or didn't like, or what could have been improved. And half the crowd comes back to me saying, hey, can you help me with my own thing?
Right.
And there's your opportunity to then talk about yourself. But during these seminars, let go of yourself. You're completely about them. I don't even mention the company name, products, none of the things I am involved in my for-profit business. And it reminded me too of the hospice experience. I went through a terrible, unexpected divorce, and I was reading the newspaper, just feeling sorry for myself, and it said heroes wanted, and it was for hospice. It was a hospice organization in Los Angeles. And next thing you know, 3 years of hospice work, best sales training I ever took in my life. I mean, you spend thousands on sales training, right? And then there I am, learning to be a professional friend, let go of yourself, help the family, and get through the worst time of their life. So what you're saying just is spot on, and it's a great reminder to us all to just, take the nonprofit approach or the get over yourself approach.
Right.
Yeah.
The byproduct of doing that right is more customer, client
Yeah, right.
sales, whatever it is,
Yeah.
but that has to be the byproduct, not the focus. So that's huge.
Yeah, they sniff it out, especially in a small community or rural community. They'll sniff it out if you're doing it just for business gain, and everybody that'll pass quick. So it is that authenticity piece of it. You really do have to genuinely do it. You have to build a plan and make it about helping the community and being involved in the community for real.
Yeah.
Well, we have one other question, if we could maybe pose that, and then we'll close out right after. But Melissa is asking, how do you do it all as a solopreneur, as one person? Any comments on, the balance of work and life and all things going on? How do you take the time to do all this if you're just on your own?
Yeah. Hi, Melissa. You just got to pick one thing. Just pick one thing and one impact that you can have, and go there, and maybe strategically say, well, how much, how much can I give to that, and know your boundaries, obviously, and what you can give, and whether it's your time or your resources. But just pick one thing and it'll roll. What you'll find is the relationships come from the relationships and you just end up, when you get into that cycle, you just end up falling into so many different opportunities and so many different relationships from unexpected places. And when you're just effectively telling your story through where everybody's looking, social media, different things like that, and getting people into that conversation, those relationships just build. And the only non-exciting thing about all of this is it takes time. Is you can't just say, I'll flip the switch and now I'm a huge community impact leader in my community, and everybody knows my brand and loves my brand and believes in what I'm doing and who I am. It takes time. But once it starts to really snowball, it's pretty amazing to watch. And we've seen it snowball many, many times. So I would say just pick one small thing and just do that, and learn how to do that the best you can. And then it'll build from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you to the Access team for your time and your knowledge and all that you give to not only the pacing community, but all of Arizona. We appreciate you very, very much. Thank you everyone for joining us today. This kicks off our rural workshop series where we have 3 more that are currently scheduled on Fridays during May, June, and July. We hope you'll join us for those. And we've recorded this today, so we'll be sending out a copy, and it'll be posted on the Local First website very soon. And we'll make sure you get the contact info for Access if you'd like to get in touch to do some deeper work together or ask some follow-up questions. So thank you everyone so much for your time today, and hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you guys.